Welcome back to the Play by Play podcast YouTube channel, where today we are going to be taking a look at the Seattle Seahawks, who are seemingly possibly trying to build the most dysfunctional cornerback room in the NFL. But before we get into all of this, I want to thank you guys so much for your support on all videos. I also want to apologize for my lack of uploads. This entire summer has been super busy, and now in this past week, I've been moving back to college. If you can't hear it in my voice, I've been sick for the past week and whatnot, trying to overcome that. There's just been so much stuff happening. I've been trying to get things back in order. So hopefully now that I'm settled, hopefully within the next couple of days as I get healthier, and school begins to kind of get on a roll, that I can get back on a good upload schedule and we can continue busting out videos, because there's consistently so much going on, especially now with NFL preseason in effect. But one last thing before we get into it, if you guys have not already, please subscribe to the channel, leave a like on this video, comment and share with your friends. And if you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on all social medias, that being TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those ads are going to be down below. We're on all of those social medias. You will get to see my latest reactions to breaking news within the NBA, the NFL, and combat sports, and you will never miss whenever the podcast decides to upload an episode. Without further ado, guys, let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead. Let's get right into it. So, news here within the NFL, as the Seattle Seahawks are signing cornerback Trevon Diggs to their roster. And that's not the only work that the Seattle Seahawks have been doing within their secondary. They also, a few days back, also signed away Terrion Arnold. Terrion Arnold, if you did not know, former first-round draft pick, 2-year player for the Detroit Lions. Just recently had loads of charges against him for, I believe, attempted kidnapping and whatnot, got released by the Detroit Lions, and now is expected to be signed by the Seattle Seahawks, potentially. I believe he's waiting for some process to go through the NFL commissioner and whatnot until that signing can be completely signed off on, due to, obviously, the charges that are being done against him. But right here, these are two pretty, I wouldn't say big, because as two talents, Diggs and Terrion Arnold aren't exceptional, and we'll obviously get to that in a second. But these are two very important signings for the Seahawks. Obviously, was not able to hold on to Tariq Woolen this past offseason. Gave him away to the Philadelphia Eagles. And that is now a huge, major hole in their secondary, especially when you consider the fact of how much wide receiver talent Seattle is going to be facing on a game-to-game basis, just based on their division, really. I mean, in their division alone, they're going to have to face Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams on the Rams. They're going to have to face Ricky Pearsall, potentially Brandon Ayuk if the 49ers are able to bring him back. Probably not likely. Deebo Samuel and whatnot, there's talent there. Even Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson can pose a threat. And I mean, even just looking at, their schedule as a whole, I mean, they play the Patriots week 1. You got A.J. Brown and Kyle Williams, who I think is a very, very underrated young wide receiver in this league. You have the Chargers with guys like Ladd McConkey and whatnot. And I believe a receiver that they just drafted in the previous draft. Broncos, Jalen Waddle and Courtland Sutton, and big-time speed playmakers like Pat Bryant and Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin coming off of it. The Chicago Bears with Luther Burden. They have Roma Dunze. You have the 49ers, like we said. The Giants, Malik Neighbors, they're adding on to their receiver core. The Cowboys have George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. You have the Eagles with Devontae Smith and company. The Rams twice. The Panthers at the end with Tedero McMillan and company. So they are going to need depth at this cornerback position. Now, Trevon Diggs is the real interesting one here for me, because obviously, he is a very non-traditional cornerback, because he's not a coverage corner. That's just not something that he is good at. He cannot consistently stick to receivers and guard them well, especially when it comes to press man-to-man defense. But he is a massive playmaker. he is a guy that does a very, very great job at making plays on the ball and causing turnovers. At his peak in 2021, when he got his first Pro Bowl, I believe it was his first Pro Bowl, he had 11 interceptions on the year. He brings a different set of athleticism and whatnot, and his career has really only been derailed by consistent injury. Tore his ACL, I believe, and then the previous year was dealing with some lingering concussion issues. That has kind of been his issue. Now, for me, on a down-to-down basis, I wouldn't necessarily trust Trevon Diggs on the outside boundary, on the outside corner spot because of the reasonings that I just gave. But if the Seahawks are able to retain their signing of Terrion Arnold, and they're able to plug Terrion Arnold into that second corner spot, and then you could potentially put Diggs, for example, within that slot spot. Now you have Trevon Diggs in a situation where he can run around a lot more freely. He's going to be more around the middle of the field, where he is a pretty solid tackler, and he's had to be because he's had so many balls caught on him when he's not, making plays and making interceptions. You can kind of almost put him in more of a position of like a sub linebacker role. Maybe you can even throw him on some corner blitzes with his athleticism and make him kind of a gadget guy. And that to me is where I think that he could be a lot more helpful. And obviously, coming on with a couple of players that are a little bit that he's a little bit familiar with, like Demarcus Lawrence and company. So obviously there was connections there that made him want to go there. So if they can put him in that situation, I think that could potentially be a good signing. Now, again, that's going to depend on Terrion Arnold, who himself has not played great, has not been the intended guy that the Lions have thought he would be. Coming over from Alabama, he was really solid in press man coverage coming over from the Crimson Tide. Here in the NFL, he struggled with that a little bit. And for him, kind of similar, he has kind of been more of the more athletic type of cornerback, being able to show off some of his speed and vertical in the passing game to be able to deflect passes at certain points and whatnot. But again, if you could plug him into that second corner spot, put Trevon Diggs in a more favorable position, that is where it's interesting. And these two cornerback signings, you could see right here with this roster, are definitely needed. I mean, behind Devon Witherspoon, you don't really have a lot. I mean, right now ESPN has Nick Manowari as their go-to nickelback, and really, he came over from South Carolina as a designated safety. The fact that he is there at nickelback right now is kind of interesting for me. But even if you want to take him out, I mean, Julian Neal, Noah Igbenogany, I mean, these are not proven corners at all. So having Witherspoon, Terrion Arnold, Trevon Diggs, and then I guess Nick Manowari at least gives you an okay athletic raw type core that might just be able to run around and just mess a bunch of stuff up, like just force a lot of fumbles, force a lot of deflections, force a lot of interceptions. Obviously, that could be something that works. Now, obviously, this could completely blow up in Seattle's face. They could not even end up getting Terrion Arnold back at all, and it could be that Trevon Diggs ends up blowing out his ACL the first game of the season. Obviously, don't want that to happen. Wishing him, a healthy return and a healthy start with the Seattle Seahawks. But it could completely blow up in their face, and they could be completely back to square one like they are here. We do not know. Obviously, we're going to have to wait for that. But ultimately, with Seattle, make two big moves, two risks that I think are very, very important. And it's really just a roll of the dice to see where they're going to be. Now, they have a talented enough roster that I think that they will do fine enough without those two. Like, the offense is pretty stacked. The defense has a lot of really great players. Even in the secondary around them, Julian Love's probably one of my favorite safeties in the league. So they will do fine even without those two, but it is going to be a much more difficult climb, especially in the division that they're in right now, to be able to consistently win games or at least consistently stop offenses without those two. They would have to rely a lot more on the offense, which are really trusting another repeat season out of Sam Darnold with a new offensive coordinator. Rashid Shaheed has not really panned out in a way, at least in the passing game, as they wanted him to. At least right now, listed as the number 2 wide receiver. Cooper Kupp is obviously aging. That's going to put a lot more stress on JSN. They don't have Kenneth Walker. All I'm saying is that this Seahawks team is not the same. They don't have the same firepower at offense. They don't have the same coordinator on offense. There can't be as much leaning on the offense as we really think. So this defense definitely needs to come through. And the secondary, obviously, very, very important with that. And the hope here is that these two guys can fill major, major holes. But Diggs needs to stay healthy, and he needs to be put into a favorable position to where he can make his plays and not go up against top guys that are going to consistently burn him. And Terrion Arnold first needs to get approved for this signing, but then definitely needs to work on his ability. He's physical at the line. He's great at the line of scrimmage, at the line of scrimmage, being physical and using his hands. But once you get him into those, 10 plus, 15 plus pass yard margins, that's when he kind of starts to lose it. He needs to improve there. But you'll have Devon Witherspoon to kind of lead that group, which will be nice. And you have some solid pass rushers that will possibly limit the time that they need to cover. So it could be good. We're just going to have to wait and see. But let me know what you think down below within the comment section. What do you think about these two signings? Do you think it's going to ultimately work out? Do you think Terrion Arnold is even going to be able to sign at all? Let me know down below within the comment section. Like I said, it was a shorter video today, just covering some latest news, simply because I'm sick. I'm still not feeling very well. I don't know if you can hear it, but my voice is still going in and out. Still have a sore throat and whatnot. So quick video today. Let me know what you guys think about all this down below in the comments section. Like I said, subscribe, leave a like, and share this with your friends. And without further ado, guys, I think that's all that I have for you guys today. I will see you guys on the next one. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. I hope you guys are having a great return to school. And peace.